You tell us a long story. Okay. We are recording. Okay. Wendy, I feel a tremendous affection for this week's guest, even though we've never met, or we barely met.
Yeah, well, it's Sheila McCarthy, and she's kind of one of those special people who, she exudes a lot of warmth, even when she's hurting. And her husband, her ex-husband, was best friends with my ex-husband. Her husband died, Peter Donaldson. He was an actor, and he died at 57. And we met just after that, and yeah, it was kind of weird, but she was, I don't know, she was just full of warmth and love, and she still is, and she always is. And so I somehow it's always stuck with me. So there she is.
There she is. Well, I kind of fell in love with Sheila McCarthy way back at almost the beginning of her career when she was cast as the lead in I've Heard the Mermaids Singing. And I was supposed to interview her then at the Toronto Film Festival, but there was a scheduling mix-up, and I ended up talking to Patricia Rozema, which was great, but I really wanted to meet Sheila.
Yeah, well, they're both feminists, Sheila and Patricia Rozema, and they did this amazing movie. But since then, Sheila's gone on. She's one of the busiest working actors around, stage, television, everything, movies, big and small. She was a reporter, I think, in Die Hard 2.
Yeah, let's mention that first and follow that up with The Librarian and The Day After Tomorrow, which also featured our friend John Moore, as a matter of fact.
Ah, okay. A few stories about that. She was the donut lady. I mean, that was a big role in the Umbrella Academy. She was in Little Mosque on the Prairie. She was the wife. She was actually hilarious. She was also in a lot of the Anne of Green Gables.
The Avonlea. Yeah. About 5 years ago, I was a presenter. No, maybe longer than that. I was a presenter at the Canadian Comedy Awards in London, Ontario. We only see that in Canada, don't we? And I was backstage and I saw this elegant woman standing next to me, and it was Sheila. And I think I gushed all over her.
Well, yeah, she's kind of hard not to gush over. We were recently at an event that was memorializing Gordon Pinsent, kind of a big deal. And she was one of the sort of people making a tribute to him. And she read a poem. It was beautiful.
It was a poem. Was it a poem, Sheila?
It was. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But maybe the biggest thing that you've taken on, and I got to tell you, I just mentioned to my son, my 24-year-old son, I said, we're talking to Sheila McCarthy, and he said, who is she? And I said, well, her latest thing was Women Talking, and she played Greta. And he was like, oh my God, she's amazing. So that's from a 24-year-old young man.
Wow.
Yeah. You are amazing.
Cool.
And I hope you're not tired of Women Talking, because that's what we're going to do. So, Sheila, welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
It's so lovely to see you. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say, I was just talking to my agent, and he was saying that there's this part, and he said, I said, Adam, I'm going to be 68. Like, this is when you rambled off all the stuff I've done. Well, I've been doing it for a long time. I said, okay, it's anyway, age. It's all good.
Yeah, well, a few things to talk about in there, but I don't know. I watched the movie Women Talking, and we both have daughters, so maybe it hit me particularly hard. But there was you played this old lady, which we can get into because you don't look like an old lady, but you kind of did in the movie. But there's this moment there, which was so you in a way. Not that you would ever lie to your daughter and apologize about it, but that's what you did. And I was like weeping because the film is about these women who are drugged, and then they're raped by members of their family or neighbors or whatever. And then you apologize in the film to the woman who was your daughter for saying, I told you to forgive him. And I'm sorry and I was just like, oh.
It's a difficult role.
Well, when we were shooting it, and this is a very short backstory, but Sarah Polley, who directed it, turned to one of the crew guys who admitted that he had been abused. And after I apologized once, because that's what was written on the page, and told Marieke that I was sorry, she turned to the crew guy and she said, was that enough? And he went, oh. And so she said, let's do it again. And she said, just keep talking. And I did it twice. And I've joked that, well, as Canadians, we say we're sorry a lot. But, and after the second time, she turned to the guy and she said, "Is that enough?" And he went, "Not quite." And so we did it again. And it was the only moment in the whole film that was improvised. Like,
Really?
that she wrote one "I'm sorry," and I ended up saying it 3 times. And it's funny, I don't really remember shooting it, but when Sarah told me that story, I was so moved that one of the crew guys said afterwards, he said, "That was enough."
That was enough.
Yeah.
Sheila, you've worked with so many people and in so many projects, but this one was absolutely jam-packed with massive stellar power. Probably the top actresses in the business. And
I died.
Did you?
I was like, what? Why is the Queen washing my feet? What are you talking about?
That's Claire Foy.
Yeah.
You knew Sarah, but did you know any of the other actors going in?
No, not at all. Judith Ivey and I, who played Agatha, became fast friends. If she lives in Nantucket, but if I would see her every day. I just adore her. And Michelle McLeod, who played my other daughter, I taught her at Humber. So, and we'd been friends, and she's a comedian, and she said, "I don't know how I got into this movie, and please don't tell anybody that I do stand up." But I knew her as a teacher student thing, but nobody else. Oh, I shouldn't say that. August, who played the trans sort of child, she did Scout when Peter, my late husband, did Atticus in To Kill a Mockingbird.
Oh, really?
Now they're them, and so they were in the movie, and it was just interesting to see how they've grown up and become such a great actor. So so August I knew, but no, oh my goodness, I fangirled for the first couple of weeks. Let me tell you.
I got to go back to the kid thing just because I got to get it out of the way. But it was such a moving moment. But it also made me think afterwards of I haven't seen Barbie yet. I know I'm going to go and see it. Everybody is talking about Barbie the movie. But Ryan Gosling, of course, the Canadian, whatever, he's talked about how he would never let his kids go into acting. So you have daughters. Would you like? It's the whole mother-daughter thing. Would you?
When I worked on the Lucy Maud Montgomery TV series, Emily of New Moon, they were both in it, and they were children, and it was hilarious. The drivers would come and pick them up before they picked up me, and it was like, "Off you go, girls," to the, But I think Pete and I were very honest about how hard it is. And I've always told students, and I always told them, that if you can think of anything else to do, please do it, because it's just too hard. Now, both my daughters are 6 feet tall. Neither of them pursued it. My younger daughter, no way, she's too shy. And Mackie sort of parlayed her career into directing and producing because she's just too bossy to be an actor. So, I'm so relieved. I mean, if you can't stop them, if that's what they want to do, but it's not for the faint of heart. And honestly, I'm still auditioning for stuff. I'm still being rejected. I'm still, it never ends. And it's just, you have to really,
You're still auditioning.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy? Yeah.
It is crazy. I mean, I guess they want to see you in the role that you're auditioning for, but I mean,
well, yes. And listen, if it's for somebody I don't know, I'm super happy to audition, but I try not to audition for people I know. I just go, come on. And I, as a director now, would never audition anybody I know. Like, that's just my rule. I'm just doing a lot of theater now, and I'm really happy doing that. And so, but then there are these incredibly elegant auditions. Like, I Zoomed with Sarah Polley for 2 hours for Women Talking. And, because I was coming out of COVID feeling kind of lazy and maybe done and maybe who cares anymore and, whatever. I didn't mind COVID in a weird way.
I had a good pandemic too. I know what you mean.
I was sort of relieved not to feel pressure, feel nervous in the morning, So anyway, that was a beautiful Zoom 2-hour meeting, and she just kept saying, "You're too young. You're too sprightly," and I'm going, "Oh, you take off. No, you know what? We're gonna be good. I mean, I'll just be very still. I'll promise I'll be very still. And I really worked on that. It killed me. But
so how much mascara do you wear is what I really want to know. Like when you glam up, like do you really glam up?
Well, no, I've just embraced false eyelashes lately because those really
Best.
thin,
Yeah.
they're fantastic. Oh my God. But yeah, no, for women talking, we'd get there in the morning and they'd scrape it off. That was just, I loved it. I love being that naked. That was, the first time I saw the movie, I was like, oh my God. Judy and I both went, finally we go to the Oscars. And that's what we look like. Wow.
Okay. I want to talk a bit about you were at, I went to all the award shows, but watching you guys, Sarah, the whole lot of you, were you in the mezzanine or something?
No, we were in the second row. I could spit at the host.
Really? But you look like you were having a blast. You were all killing yourselves laughing.
No, right in the front, like Lady Gaga, Sigourney Weaver, Kate Hudson, they were all there.
Yeah.
Paul Mescal. Oh my God, it was ridiculous.
Yeah, I love it.
Dreamy.
Wow. But this, and so, you had no idea none of you had any idea that the movie.
No, listen, when we shot it, because you can't think that way. I thought with this amount of star power, but we were so down the rabbit hole of making the movie, and it was it was a very intense experience. It was also really fun too. We were together for 3 months every day. So we laughed a lot, we talked a lot, we cried a lot, and we were all, and it was in the very thick of COVID. So everybody was, very careful, but it really wasn't until I saw it, it really wasn't until we were in Telluride a year ago and people were coming up to us in the street when people first saw it and were weeping, and couples coming up and men, women, and the husband would start talking to us and the wife go, no, you don't get to talk. I get to talk. And it was this incredible, movie stars throwing their arms around me, Anne Hathaway weeping and crying. I was like, I think I'm in something big. I think Michelle and I looked at each other and went, well, this is going to be a ride. Wow.
But you're still auditioning. I find that really weird because the movie won an Oscar, so you should have offers from the ceiling, dropping from heaven.
Has it changed people's perception of you?
No, I think maybe for a moment, but now we're in this big strike situation. So the world is collapsed right now. So it's a very interesting time. It's interesting when we were in Telluride and Claire and Jessie Buckley and Rooney Mara all auditioned for the same part. And they were discussing that. I don't think it ever ends, even at their level.
Wow.
Right? Those are three very different women, but they're all of an age, and they all met the director and auditioned.
Wow.
What was it like when you mentioned the Zoom call with Sarah Polley? So that was like an hour and a half. It was during COVID. So it was on Zoom, obviously. And you knew her because you were her mom or something when she was
I played her mom in a movie. And she kept apologizing. And she kept saying, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry to put you through this. I'm so sorry, but Brad Pitt has to approve you and Frances McDormand. And I went, I'm pretty good with that. You know what I mean? And honestly, at the end of the audition, I was so full, and we went through every moment of the script together, and it was so complete. And I walked into my husband's office, and I burst into tears, and I just said, I could cry thinking about it. That, oh my God, I had no idea how much this was going to mean to me at the beginning of this Zoom, and by the end of it, I thought, and then I didn't hear for 3 weeks. And I was like, oh. Okay, wow, okay. So I emailed John Buchan, the casting director, and I said, thank you so much for that incredible experience with Sarah.
Hint. Can you
I'm so, I wrote Bruce Willis a letter for Die Hard. That's a whole other story. But anyway, when he took the part out of the movie, and I went, you can't take the part out of the movie. And he put the part back in, and I got it. But so I like to be hands-on about things, and yes, but at the same time, I just wanted to let her know that I was so honored and blah, blah, blah. And John, he got right back to me and went, oh, you got the part. Oh yeah, we need to pin you. Yeah, you're on. You're got. I was like, but it was a huge, big operation, and Sarah was, involved in so many other decisions. I think, it was going to but yay.
Yay. I want to ask you, it's funny, you mentioned Judith Ivey, and you both play the older women in Women Talking. And Judith, who is a phenomenal actress, and like yourself, in my mind, came from comedy. And
Yeah.
and has been a real revelation to see her embrace these dramatic roles. But I wonder about that because, again, like when I met you briefly was at the Canadian Comedy Awards,
Right?
And Mermaids, I think, is considered a comedy, and certainly
I guess so. Yeah.
I guess so. And Little Mosque, certainly.
Yeah.
And I wonder too, how when you're taking on a comedic role as opposed to a dramatic role, how far apart are those two persona, for lack of a better word?
I get asked this in class a lot because I teach comedy, and I think it's acting is acting, and I always go from a place of, what is the character not good at? What what are their foibles? What are their flaws? Because there's so much to mine in comedy that way, and in drama too. And I love the flaws. I would think the only real technical difference might be speed and dexterity. That when you're doing comedy, you need to be on your toes like a tap dancer, and you need to be ready to fly, and it's a little bit faster sometimes. Dramatic actors can make big dramatic pauses and can take their time and drive you crazy. But I think that for me, it all comes from kind of the same place. And it was funny with Women Talking because Greta was really the only one who had a slight, there was humor in the movie, but her, Ruth and Cheryl, her horses, and it was finding that fine line between how amusing can that be in order to tell these stories and I think it was sort of a relief, to have the horses there. You know what I mean? It just, amidst all of the sturm and drang of it all, But for me, it's really just acting, and I don't favor one over the other. I remember when I did Emily of New Moon, there was not 1 ounce of humor for 4 years. My character, Aunt Laura, every description was Aunt Laura pales and cries and flees the room. And I got really good at crying. It was like, when the show ended, I went, oh, I'm not crying enough right now. I need to be crying more. But it's all good,
It's interesting about Aunt Laura when you think about it. She was always lovely.
Always lovely, but
patient and
but so drugged up with laudanum and so screwed up, and so poor Aunt Laura.
Poor Laura.
So are you like a triple threat? You're like, you do a little bit of comedy, you're a dancer, and you act. That's not your normal triple threat, but there's all these things.
Well, because I started when I was 5 at the Alan and Blanche Lund School of Dance, which is musical theater. So my entrance into this career was at the Charlottetown Festival doing Anne of Green Gables, and I did the rock opera of Hamlet with Brent Carver and Beverly D'Angelo, and I was never Mr. Lund used to say to me, Sheila, do you even have a cartwheel? And I'd go, no. Dancing from here, I was really, look. When I look at the dancers today with all their tricks, forget it. So, I went to New York and studied with Uta Hagen and opened my mouth, and that was it. And I was never disciplined enough I didn't care about the triple pirouette enough to, and a dancer's career is so hard, and it's so, anyway.
And abbreviated, yeah.
Yeah. And so coming from musical theater.
Can you do a cartwheel?
You
don't need to do the either of you.
And I did one once, and I cartwheeled right into the orchestra pit at the Charlottetown Festival and sprained my ankle. So I'm a little gun shy about doing cartwheels.
Yeah. We have one of our producers still does cartwheels, or at least she signs off with a picture of an emoji of someone doing a cartwheel. Knowing your limitations.
Forget it. No, but I love dancing, and I love tap dancing, and I love musical theater people, and I love directing musicals because they are so open, and it can be considered the poor cousin at places like Stratford, but I defy a straight actor to come into a musical theater and not be realize how difficult it is to be in those
To do all
shows.
those things.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah.
Women talking, I don't know whether we're allowed to even like raise a question about it, but I kind of wanted people to fight, like there's all of these women who come together, the conversations. I don't know how Sarah Polley figured out the screenplay to have everybody be sort of supportive, even though you could tell that there was this underlying tension between those who wanted to leave, and they have to make a choice, even though in real life, I think, they didn't speak the language, they're illiterate, they're uneducated, they stayed. But in the movie, well, spoiler alert, it's been out for a little while, they have to make a choice between leaving and staying. But there's all of these, like, they kind of love the men. Like, I don't know if they love men.
Well, I think it's this very deep-seated root of their religion and their, they've been entrenched in this patriarchy their whole lives. And if you think about these, it's, because it is an act of female imagination, Miriam Toews took that original story from a Mennonite colony in Bolivia and then imagined 9 women sitting around talking for the very first time about these issues. And so they're speaking from a place of spirituality and day-to-day tasks and cleaning and child raising, and so that it is the language is not something that they would probably ever really speak, but the thought behind it. And I think we were all worried that it was going to be kind of boring, that it would be just
women talking.
Women talking. Like I remember my husband heard the title and he went, "The tomatoes are talking. What kind of title is that?" Right. And we were concerned about that just being, are people going to, like, is it going to be My Dinner with Andre where women are just talking for 2? But I think what Sarah did was she created such a tension with boots on the ground and not showing the assaults, just the before and the after, and the idea that human beings can have their minds changed. And it's not an easy film. Like it's not an easy film to sit through. But I think it surprised people, Although I've had a lot of men come up to me very concerned about, well, where do they go?
Yeah.
And where do they go?
And where do they go?
Well, where do they go? To go? We always joked that we were at the Starbucks down the road. We're all going to meet at the Starbucks down the road. And
in Bolivia, yes.
Yeah. I said, well, that's not really the point. The point is that it's not about leaving. It's that they cannot stay, and that the consensus is, and the vote is, and the journey it takes for these women to have minds changed, which very rarely happens in the world, as we know. Minds are never changed. I mean, we live in a polarized world now, thank you, Donald Trump. And I think that this was a big concern of Sarah's, that minds could be changed in the movie, and we watch it happen, and that she loved the passion of that, which is
Wasn't there a quote of her at the Oscars? Didn't she say, "I'd like to thank the Academy for not being morally offended by sticking the words women and talking so closely?"
Yes. God, so smart. She's so smart, and she was so relentless with her beliefs of this, of those words, and originally from Miriam, and so the bar was very high, and I just respected it, because there are not very many movies like this. I mean, let's face it.
No.
And the fact that it reached out to the masses in the way that it did surprised everybody, really.
Yeah. Sheila, I want to ask you about your life since Peter has gone.
Mm-hmm.
And because you had, as far as anyone knows, a very successful marriage, and you were very
we were apart a lot, so that was
I know it sounds like such a trite question, but how has it been? How has it been?
Thank you. Oh, what a great question. My sisters tell me that when I married Pete, I married my father, and when I married Monk Alan, I married my mother. And I went, okay, that's
very attractive.
It's kind of true. but Pete and I were together for 28 years, and you don't ever you just never get over it, ever. But 3 years later, I met this man who, it killed me to go on a dinner. I'd met him because I used to audition for him. He was a commercial director, and he never cast me. So he made the big mistake at a dinner party of telling me, "You used to audition for me, and I never cast you." Really? Okay, great, great. But then he asked me out for dinner, and my daughter Mackenzie, she said, "Mom, just go." I mean, I think both daughters were saying, "Oh God, please someone take care of Mom. Please someone take care of her." And I always loved being in my life with somebody. I think my life is richer with somebody. It's hard, and it's good, and it's bad, and you're in love, and you hate them, and you love them, but it's a better sunset for me. So we went out for dinner, and we laughed for we really laughed, and we had mutual friends and children, and dysfunctional and all that stuff, and I kind of just didn't get in my way. So what's it been like? And then I got drunk in Rome and proposed. I don't know why we got married.
I hope you said yes.
Well, clearly.
We got married because we joked that we were going to start a family. I don't know. It was just a way to have a party. But it is, it's great. It's great. Pete is here all the time. And, I look at my daughters, and I just had a grandchild a week ago. So, that's
congratulations.
Thank you. And these watershed moments of life, it's hard, isn't it? Because we don't know how long we've got, and here we are, and everything feels extremely precious since my granddaughter was born, that I don't remember feeling when I had children, and even don't remember feeling when I lost Pete. But there's something about a baby that has made me feel like the world is scarier all of a sudden.
Yeah, I get that.
It's just so my life has been it really changed. It really took me by surprise, and I guess I just kind of didn't get in my own way. And I think now, if I was alone again, I would be okay. I think I would, be okay. It's interesting. I realized that I had not really ever lived alone. And so when Pete died, I was really at a loss. I didn't really think I could, going out for dinner with friends. And after a while, I remember someone saying to me, "This is the busy time now, but in a couple of months you will be alone, and that's when it's not the busy time, and that's when it'll be harder." And it was true. And I don't think there's any way of escaping that and not going through that. But I do remember coming home from parties alone thinking, "Oh, wow, this is hard." Work was great. I was doing little Mosque on the Prairie, and that work has always been, made me happy. So that helped me. Yeah, kept me busy.
Yeah, I remember, I don't know whether this is too goopy, but I remember meeting you, and it was right after Pete Donaldson died. And you were at a big function at the Carlew, and we had our picture taken together. And I just remember thinking, oh my God, she has just been through. I mean, he had lung cancer, so I'm sure that would have been a very painful long-term thing that you guys went through. Yeah. But still, I mean, I don't know, just the whole idea. I'm so happy to hear that you're happy and that you've had a grandchild. I didn't have a kid until I didn't get pregnant until I was 40. So she's going to be really old now. So I'm trying not to put any pressure on her. I just go, "Oh, look at the cute little baby."
Well, now, Wendy, how old is your daughter?
She's 24. She's 24.
Wow,
and she's just gone from thinking kids are gross to, babies are cute as long as they're somebody else's. So, in another 10 or 20 years, maybe.
Well,
I have a
35, I never thought she would. And then she met this guy, and it's just, it's also, I'm not the babysitter, you know.
Right. Well, it's only
there's
been a week, Sheila.
It's only been a week. And, it's funny. I'm kind of going, oh, can I come over today and just look at her?
Yeah.
But it's quite surprising, really. It's never like that with my daughters. One on a hip with a script in my hand. But no, it's great. And I remember that night, and it was a hoedown. I think we were in cowboy hats, Wendy, and it was just those were the events that I would have gone home from, just going.
Yeah, well, you would have been right in the throes of whatever the heck was going on at that period. So when you lose somebody so close, it'd be so weird. But now
when Peter had, oh yeah, no, it's great. But when Peter had cancer, we're Sheila, we're not going to get sad twice. So it was a very interesting 2 years of complete denial. Which is a very interesting word, isn't it? I mean, you just think, okay. And then when he did die, we were surprised, and it's interesting that anyway.
Yeah, I'm choosing to live in denial, which is working just fine until the truth hits, and then
why not? Why not?
What's worse that can happen? What's going to happen is going to happen anyway, right? So
really, yes, yeah.
Sheila, what are you working on now?
So I am going to North Bay on Sunday, and I'm starting a kind of a horror movie called Love is the Monster. It's a Finnish film, and it's kind of White Lotus meets The Exorcist, I guess. And
that kind of thing.
I've done a couple of horror movies, and nothing is more fun than shooting a horror movie. So it's couples at this retreat. And then there's this creature, and it's really fun and weird, and so I really don't know what I'm getting myself into. But it's
North Bay,
lots shooting up there, I guess. And so they got papal dispensation from SAG, from Screen Actors Guild, to make this movie because it's an ACTRA, it's Canadian, it's Finnish Canadian, but there's SAG in it, and so I'm surprised that they were allowed to do it. But off I go to North Bay.
Well, The Exorcist is really back in. I went to see Oppenheimer. I'm going to go see Barbie, I promise.
Yes,
Maureen, I'm going to go see it. But there was a trailer for another movie, and it was an Exorcist. It was The Exorcist is back, and I'm like, whoa, is this where we are? But I don't care. I love The Exorcist.
Oh no, and it is a great film, and I think William Friedkin, he just passed away too.
Yes, he did. Yeah.
But they're really fun to do, and then there's this whole underbelly of horror film festival that they play at, that has this incredible, audience. So this will be fun. I have no idea
we have
what it's going to be like.
We hope that you have fun. We're going to wrap up, but we have loved talking to you. It's so
good
to see your face. So good to hear that you're happy and employed. I'm sure that the offers are just going to they're just going to tumble in.
Oh yeah.
Well, especially now that you've done this podcast, that's going to make all the
okay from your lips. Very good. Yes.
Thank you, Sheila, for talking to us.
Thank you so much. You guys were great.
Thank you again.
Thank you. Okay.
Bye.
Bye. Why do I feel like we've been hanging forever? The three of us,
Yeah, she has that certain something. I don't know what it is. Maybe all actors have it. They have a familiar face and you feel like you know them. But with her, there's something, with Sheila, there's something different. Like I don't know. I went a little overboard maybe in talking about meeting her, but and she probably maybe she doesn't even remember, but I sure do. She has that something.
Now, tell me something. What's the correct way to refer to your deceased husband? Because you said ex-husband, but Peter's your ex-husband. Her Peter is he's like. But what's the correct word? My
deceased husband.
I don't know what the proper term is. Anyway, yes, in some ways he is her ex-husband, but that's not the word. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, so her deceased husband, just to be clear, her deceased husband.
But I didn't realize she had remarried, and I felt like saying, "Well, Sheila, that's fast."
We're not going there. It took 3 years. Yeah,
it took 3 years, but still, I mean, she's obviously, like as she said, it's better to go through life with somebody.
And realizing that, now that if she had to be alone, she could be alone. So,
Yeah.
it was lovely to see her
Yes.
face and to
Yes.
see women talking. I'm going to remake the movie. I'm going to win a screenplay. I'm going to beat out Sarah Polley. I'm going to rewrite it so that there's more fighting scenes. What do you think?
More of an action movie. Women fighting. Have you actually read the book?
No, I haven't. I've
You
just seen the
should.
movie. I should. Yeah.
I've got it right here. I can lend it to you. It's a different experience. I mean, obviously the themes are much the same, but I would advise reading it as well. Because you like to read and stuff like
Well,
that.
I probably should have read it before doing this interview, but I saw the
Yeah.
movie. It was
Well, that's
really
fine.
good.
Go see Barbie.
I will. I promise.
All right. It's just like Women Talking, except pinker.